very quick, gents. It wasn't the most exciting of games. Safranco off the mark. I guess that's a good positive from a draw that was in the end. They made it look like hard work, but let's be honest. Van Versteden did, show up. And they made sure that, listen, it's not going to be easy here. The rain also played a factor. Maybe Greg, Mr. Onyango, and that goal. Do we blame it on the rain? Is that a slippery pitch?
For me, I think, we expect much in that game in terms of, if the weather was conducive in terms of there's no rain, in terms of, the game, because with the rain, I just feel like, a little bit of, stop and start in terms of how the game, went on. But Golden Arrows never mind, because they're from, the same Devon, and they quick up the mark, in the 6 minutes they scored their goal, which was a good goal. As a goalkeeper, Brighton would testify with me, with the caliber of Oyango. I think, he reacted a little bit late, towards that ball. Maybe he didn't see the ball. Maybe there's a lot of bodies in front of him, because or maybe he never expects the player to shoot from that range. But I think it was a good strike, and when it's raining, the ball always flies, a little bit faster. So I just think that that give Golden Arrows a starting point, which make it to be an interesting game. If you check the ball possession, at the end of the game, you have Sundowns having 76, percent of possession compared to Golden Arrows 24. Which, you expect that, when they score Golden Arrows, they have to sit back and, play on the counter attack. Shots on target, you have, 7 from Sundowns and 2 from Golden Arrows, which, you say much, about the game. And, with, Franco coming in the 78th minute, getting that goal. And that was his first shot on target, and I'm just so happy for him. I just think, I pray will be more goals to come from him, and you can see the celebration from the players. They were very happy for him. I think, he has been pushing, towards the other game that he came in late, towards the 80 minutes, the 5 minutes, he didn't have this chance that he had. And I'm just happy for him. He scored that goal. I just think, and I pray for him, it's going to be the beginning of more goals coming to for him in Sundowns color.
Yeah, there we go. I guess, it's going to have to be a patient approach with them. Even the coaches have admitted that they do need some time for him to kind of learn the lay of the land as far as how the team plays. But Calvin, you figure that 2 bites of the cherry, Mamelodi Sundowns probably in that next round will have enough to see this one through. They got an away goal, and maybe they just might, with the tons of resources and players, they just shuffle that pack into a winning one, because that very much felt like a cup hand at the weekend, a cup side where you're trying to give, some people an opportunity to run out and get some game time. But they can turn the screw, Sundowns, in that next leg and just go all out with a star-studded, winning team.
Yeah. True. I think what caused Sundowns maybe on this game, and Arrows let it go. Arrows should have grabbed the winner on this one and make it difficult for Sundowns. With Sundowns being the superior team in terms of the squad on their table, I think they got enough ammunition for them to come back stronger. And knowingly, the coach will actually work on the defects that they had as a team, which they had to score the late equalizer, which is something that was supposed not to happen. But with Arrows, them playing so well, I think the mistake that they made was maybe after scoring, trying to defend a little bit deeper, trying to minimize the lines, not to break into the lines, but they made that difficult for themselves because they started sitting on the box. With Sundowns understanding that, so they would find solutions on that. With knowing them very well, they will have overloads on the side and use their wing play, and also trying to involve Sefranco more into a target man and get the players to run off him, which is going to be a little bit difficult for the CBC and the defense for Arrows in terms of having to manage with the speed on the side with your Lebu, your Mukwena, your Serinos, who are creative players, the Zwanes who will be involved in the action. So I think it's going to be, they made it difficult for themselves. I think the best result was for them to squeeze that 1-0 win, but also not to stop playing. Because immediately Arrows stopped playing, it made it difficult for them because they started receiving the pressure instead of them trying to push Sundowns, because Sundowns needed the goal. It's not for you to sit more back, but now try to keep more a consolidation line. Play a mid block, not a low block, because if you play a low block against Sundowns, Sundowns will always find solution as they're a good passing team and their movement are great.
Okay. Brighton, your thoughts on that one? I mean, also, I guess we mustn't forget to give credit to Siema, because, you know, it's not often that you can force a side like Sundowns to just accept the spoils in a game.
Yeah, look, I wasn't that convinced coming to this game for Golden Arrows because for the past 3 games, I mean, I've been saying that I feel like there's a bit of sluggishness in between the team. I mean, the players, in terms of understanding the playing philosophy of the new coach, and they're still stuck behind with the coach Ngigazi's philosophy. So yeah, it's been kind of tricky for them. I mean, when I watched how they played against SuperSport, I saw it coming that one way or the other they are going to crack, because at first what they were doing, they were playing for the result as opposed to exerting the philosophy of the coach. And then fast forward, we looked at the weekend's game. I think they came out guns blazing. I think as well, obviously playing a big game like this one, it does motivate you as a player. All the tactics go out of the window as well, you know, which they did well. And the weather did play a role as well, because Sundowns, yes, with their ball retention, it wasn't that good enough the way that we know it to be. And I mean, from the past 3 weeks, I've been saying the same thing over and over again. I'm worried about the negative transition from Sundowns. As soon as they lose the ball, they still scatter, and there's no sense of urgency into closing down the ball. And I think with the goal, it was evident, because it broke down right through the middle, and the player just went through, and there was no sense of urgency in terms of the distances between the centre back and the central midfielders. It was too big for them. One of them has to step out to close down the ball when they took the shot. I mean, it's slippery. It's going to be difficult for the goalkeepers, especially if the ball goes through the bodies and so forth, you know? So those are the things that I feel like Sundowns, they just need to work on that. And I've been saying it for the past couple of weeks now, saying that, yes, with the tactically ball retention, they're good at that. But what they do when they lose the ball, the negative transition, it's a bit of a worry, because they kind of slow, and lapse of concentration and body positioning, I think, is very key, especially for the Rook and Mvala, or the whichever central defensive midfielder Rivaldo could say, for all that matters, you know. So I think those are the things that they need to look at, to say, what do we do? Do we counter press? Do we build a low block where we have 2 banks of 4 just to screen? As long as the opponents are going to play in front of us and go side to side, it's okay. But as long as we're going to stay in front of the ball, and then that would be better. So those are the things that they need to adjust to, or just to identify. And then I think all shall be well.
Okay. Well, I mean, some of the people watching the stream have some thoughts, and one's coming from Sumila Landu saying, Sundowns are wasting talent. Where's Malulega? Why not play him or Vilagazi in the midfield instead of playing centre backs? This is why they're sometimes losing control of the games. Brutus Aaron Masindi says, Onyango is finished. Coaches must bench him and give Goss a chance. Goss is a very good goalkeeper. We've got 2 goalkeepers here. I wonder if they're going to, give us an opinion on this one. Obviously, I don't know. It's like, Onyango, his place in Mamelodi Sundowns history is intact. But that at the weekend can happen to any keeper, surely.
Definitely. I mean, you can't be the best goalkeeper in Africa, and you're
having a soft spot, Greg. I can see you. Speak up, brother.
No. What I'm trying to say, Kelvin, I say, for Yango, what he has achieved in terms of the African football, with Champions League and winning the league, and he has done so much for the Ugandan national team. I mean, one of the best in Africa football, those things happen, he's just coming back from injury, and that was his first game, if I'm not mistaken. I think, with the condition on that day, it can happen to anybody, but Oyango have, week in, week out, have been Sundowns, top player. You know, I saw him now, the absence of Kekana. He's the one putting the armband, and he deserves it. And I think he's one of the shining light of Sundowns. You know.
Okay, fair enough. And then, I mean, obviously, in terms of this experiment, Calvin, they're running of center backs playing as DMFs, and you know, what do you make of that? Is that are they trying to make these players, you know, multiple weapons, or you know, have them have different skill sets? Because to, you know, the point that Sumila's making, why not use players that are actually midfielders, you know, and can play that role and can pass the ball? I'm sure the coaches would argue that those guys aren't up to speed because they've not been in the group. But any other reason you would think of as to why you can't involve the likes of, you know, George Malulega and Vilagazi on the bench?
Well, I think maybe within a coach, what his thinking is maybe just have to look at the point where if he wants to apply counter press and having to apply the counter press, you need your double pivot. So when you're playing with two pivots, it makes it more effectively if you're going to go on a counter press and closing the passing lanes. So within that, it's easier for you when you have players at that position to have an overload to isolate on one side, meaning that you can easily transfer a play from one end to another end. And it's easy for those players because they play more on a central role. So it's in the heart. So this is where I fell short to understand when Sundowns have two pivots and their counter press was so poor, because that was supposed to be more effective, because when they're having double pivot, it's easier for the number 10 to actually roam around and screen for the two. And that makes it difficult for those passing lanes to filter through for them to find their strikers, the golden arrow strikers. But they allow that, and I think it's one of the things that they'll go back Sundowns and try and polish on them. But again, as to go back to your question again, I think that's one of the reasons where if you're having double pivot, it means that you want to be superior on positional play, meaning this is how Sundowns play. This is their DNA. So when they have more numbers, it's just that so they want to suck you in so that they will always have a numerical superiority on one end of the game, meaning that if you're starting from the build-up, that initiate a build-up play. So if one drops, one will sit in the middle. So then it pushes you to say, are you going to press high or you're going to sit? If you sit, you will build. If you're going to press higher, it means that you're going to open the passing channels for us to graduate to the next phase of attack. And if that doesn't happen, then it activates your Serenos, your wingers, your Franco to come shorter to receive or hold the play for the wingers to join in attack.
Yeah. Okay. Spot on. Okay. Dope. So that's your question answered, Mr. Mr. Landu, there in terms of how they approach the game tactically on Mamelodi Sundowns. Let's then move on to a player who seems to be on his way out. He wasn't told before the season, but it just seems more and more it's rather ominous for Hlompo Kekana in terms of his situation at Mamelodi Sundowns. Greg, have you ever been made to feel like that, where people just stop treating you nicely at the club and all of a sudden are hinting at you to maybe, you know, Greg?
He knows it very well.
Greg, are you sure you want to come through, bruh?
No, but you, I mean, Kekana, I don't know what to say. I mean, he's a super legend, you know. I mean, today he's celebrating his 10 years at Sundowns, you know, which, I mean, he can attribute, you know, in terms of how, you know, high Sundowns, when Sundowns opportunity came, he couldn't turn it down, you know. I'm just so happy. He has achieved a lot, you know. He's a legend of the game, you know. He has done, you know, I don't know how many league titles he has won, cups, you know, and has done so much for Sundowns, you know. I mean, one of the captains who lifted the Champions League, you know. I can remember, you know, with his top class goal in the national team. For me, Kekana, any day, anytime, he is a top legend. You know, treating him, I don't know what's happening in Sundowns camp there. You know, I think they're trying to, you know, they're just trying to build for the future in terms of the age-wise. But for them to give him 5 years contract, I think, you know, they saw something in him, you know. So for me, there's a lot of things he can still go play for, you know, if you want to leave Sundowns. But at this time of the point, I think, you know, Sundowns will be one of the place. I think he might, if he wants to retire, it's gonna be a good environment for him. But if you want to carry on playing, there's a lot of things we rush, quickly want to get his signature. There's a lot of teams in the PSL that want to
on his wages. You think? With that back, with his wages, you think there's a lot of people who can just
No. There's teams, because basically, if he goes out now from Sundowns, he's only gonna get a year contract, on an option,
pay
with
cut,
his agency.
pay cut also.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of things we want him to come there, just to rub his experience to the youngsters, and for me, he has done so much in South African football, So, but I just hope, Sundowns will treat him in terms of the right way. No one, the clubs don't owe you and say that we need to keep you, or they don't, you don't have the right. If they feel like you cannot contribute again, they move forward. That's the nature of the game. So, but if you look into the aspect in terms of what he has contributed for Sundowns to where they are today, I think he has contributed massive. So for me, I just pray that they can put him well, and whatever.
Brighton, what is the best case scenario for Hlompo here? To Greg's point about him being a legend, what is the best way do you think Mamelodi Sundowns could kind of give Hlompo a send-off? Because Greg is saying that, he's put his name in the history books there. So how does the situation best resolve itself? Do you think that, because it seems like he's not going to play. So as the club, what do they do? What's the best way?
Yeah, look, I think first and foremost, he needs to sit down with the club, more especially with the technical team, the coaches, have an honest conversation with them to find out where to from here. How is he going to feature? Does he feature in their plans? What's going to happen? And if he is going to get game time, how limited or how much more is he going to get? You understand? And then from there, that's where he's going to make a decision. I mean, judging from what we see from the outside, obviously we don't know what's happening the inside. But from what we see is that he's been sidelined, and it seems like he's not going to feature much. And went as far as thinking that he's probably played his last game over the weekend. We don't know. But for me, I think the sooner he has that conversation, the better. And at the same time, he needs to be honest with himself as well to say, does he still have much legs to give within whatever team that he might want to go to, to finish off his career on a high, or he wants to end his career on a high at Sundowns, the way it is right now. So those are the things that he needs to ask himself, is to say, do I want to stay and get that little game time that I'm going to get whenever they need me, or I want to go and have one full good season wherever I might go, and just plant that seed, that just make sure that he goes and rub off the experience within the other structures. So those are the things that he needs to check, and then from there, I guess he'll have his answers. And from what I see, I believe that he still has a good 2-3 seasons in his legs, and he's going to give us one of the best, so the more you age, the more you grow wiser. So I believe that with him, that's what he can offer to any team. I mean, you have your Super Sport, they could do with his experience, and he once played there. You have the Morocco Swallows, they could do with his, there's so many teams that can do with his experience. All he has to do is just to establish if he wants to retire at Sundowns, or he wants to retire at a team where he'll be playing a good full season, which is going to give him a good send-off on the playing field, not a send-off where we're going to call him from the grandstand to lift the trophy that he didn't even participate on. Those are the things that you need to take.
I hear you, right? It makes a good point. But so what is it then? Do you go out at the top at Sundowns and you call it quits? Or because the thing is, anywhere he goes would be a step down, essentially, right? So it's like, yeah, you can go to a team, or you can just go out as a legend at the team that's at the top. What do you do? What would you do if you're in his shoes?
Well, if I was on his shoes, this is what I would do. Firstly, I'd have to consider my family. This would be my last touch in being in the 4 perimeters. And firstly, I need to understand that I need to secure my family now, because what I love and what has been bringing money for me is no longer going to be there, because what Sundowns are offering, maybe there's no other team that can offer that. But then again, we come into the reality where do I still want to fulfill the passion of playing? Is it about the money or is it about the love of the game? But now things have changed. They are more on the financial side now. You need to look at that because it's going to be a long stretch up until the real retirement, meaning you're not going to be working anymore. So even at the Sundowns, whereby they're having more younger players and also the squad competitiveness, the refreshing of the squad is always there. Why? Is because they want to always they want to compete most of the time. They want to find themselves participating in CAF, in the cups that they have. They want to win everything. With the integration of the younger players that are there, with the system that is evolving and the coaches that are there, would it be enough for him to have the legs to carry on within the system? Because there are systems that is going to force whereby we're going to need speed and also we're going to need fresh bodies and people that are going to be recovering in a shorter time than within the older players. This is some of the science that you need to look into, and we also have to look in terms of the age factor. Age factor, I'm not trying to position in a way that is old, because in the position that is playing, it needs matured players who understand and technically disciplined, because you don't just feel the youngster that is going to go all over the field. As a Sundowns that like to play compact and always wants to have dominance in terms of position. So this is one of the things that you could look out for. And also with Sundowns trying to have the dominance in the league. So that's why they bring in 2, 3, 4, 5 players per position. Because if they see that within the 3 or 2 that we have, they can always replace Kegan.
Hey, yeah, no, that's the problem. To go from being like the main man to all of a sudden becoming like a peripheral figure, like a ghost walking around. Klurkop there. It's hectic. Okay, let's have a look at the other game. Funny enough, I had a chat with him today. Oh, did you?
Yeah.
What did he say to? What did you guys chat about?
He laughed it off. I just called. I texted him. I said, "Hey, Mr. Ambassador, how are you doing?" And then he said, "You are starting." I said, "Which role do you want to take now? Do you still want to play, or what do you want to do?" In me, I have the legs. I want to play, but the situation is different when it comes to the family and also what I have to do for.
Hey, that's the inside scoop, Mus. Thank you for that one, Kelvin, for that insight. Cape Town City and Swallows played out to a 0-0 draw. It is what it is, I guess. Both defenses and both keepers.
Yeah.
Clean sheets.
For me, I must say credit. I still say credit must be given to Eric and charges. You know, they've improved defensively. They've improved. I mean, for a team that last season conceded over 40 goals, and then here they are. They come in this season. They already have 2 clean sheets, if I'm not mistaken. And credit must be given to Hugo Marquez. I still say that guy came in. He did stabilize. He did give the defense some sort of confidence. And I mean, prior to his first game, he only came in for a week. Didn't have much time to settle in, and he was very confident. Was very, very solid and very authoritative. That's one thing I liked about him. That he's very calm and his positional sense is very good. His footwork is brilliant, I believe. So they can always grow from that. And you can see even the defense, they have confidence in him, like the way they did with Peter Liebenberg when he came in. So they can always build from this one going forward. And I believe that they are a team to watch out, this season.
Yeah, I think they've always kind of flirted with being quite the party poopers if they can be, especially with Eric Tinkler in charge. I think he's got the capability to get something out of that team. We've got Solo joining us to just chat about the Sundowns. Good evening, Solo. How are you doing?
Hello, how are you? How are you?
Yeah, we're well, thank you. What's on your mind about Sundowns?
Silo, how are you?
Very good, Kevin. Yes, my worry regarding Sundowns, my brother, it's the style of play. It's beginning to have a decline. If you could check against the game against Arrows, they couldn't break through the defense. As you would check, like Jali and Rivaldo, they were playing very well, but the balls were being passed on the sides. Né? So I saw it very difficult for Mamelodi Sundowns to cut through the defense because the balls were always going to the wide channels. And if you could check, there was no creativity from their number 10. Because usually that position is filled by Moshishi. And in Moshishi's absence, I see no one bringing any creativity there. So I foresee a decline, actually. I foresee a decline in the absence of Moshishi, because Domingo, to be honest, he's playing well, but I don't see any creativity. Even Mudiba, I don't see any creativity. So I foresee a decline, and I honestly doubt that Sundowns are gonna be the league contenders this season. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so you think that because of like not being able to fill that gap when Mshishi is not there, there's no other player. So who would you like to see as cover for a player like Mshishi? Who do you think has the creativity to take his place when he's not around? Or honestly, are you saying that player go Sundowns?
Honestly speaking, the player I see is in SuperSport Sipombule, but at Mamelodi Sundowns, I don't see any player. Like, to be honest,
you do have. You can use Billy Mayema. You can use the Billy Mayema. You can use who's this other player? There's Billy Mayema. There's Liseri Kapinga. Very creative players, very nippy players who play well behind the lines. And
don't you think Domingo needs time, Silo? Yeah, don't you think Domingo needs some time?
Domingo as well is also good, and Gift Mutupa can play number 10 very well. So you do have the players who can do that. The only question should be, how do we then integrate those players? How do we then give them the confidence without giving them, at Sundowns, the problem is that some players, when they go in, you somehow feel like you're on trial. Either you seize your opportunity or you don't. If you don't seize it, you are up there in the stands again, and you're a forgotten man again. So those are the things that it's just a matter of striking the balance as to how do we introduce these other players with the support of the players who have been tried and tested, who are going to help these players. I mean, with Domingo, when he came in this season, he started quite well, and he's going to pick up his confidence. All he needs is the players around him to uplift him, to give him the much needed confidence that they gave Mshishi when he came in, because everyone had where he started. That's where Mshishi started as well, before he was loaned out and so forth. So I think it's just a matter of giving them the confidence and having the players who are going to rally behind them to say, look, especially when we're playing with a double pivot. When you play with a double pivot, like Kelvin has mentioned, you need to know that these two players have to give the players that are ahead of them confidence to say, just go do your thing up front. We've got your back. We'll cover you guys. We'll just do the dirty job. That's the only confidence that the players need, because the ball retention is there. But now it cannot be effective enough if you're still worried about the negative transition. What's going to happen behind me? Are they going to cover me or whatnot? What are the distances between me and my central defenders? So those are the things that they need to strike a balance, and then everything shall be fine.
There we go. So I know you wanted your chairman to give you more money to buy more players, but you have the players to
honestly, I agree with Brighton there. I think that's the place where coaching will take like a lot of work there. Because now, if you check the players, I don't believe they are ready, as he said. But I think the quality is there, but I don't think they are ready. Because if you remember during Pizzo's time, like any player that arrived at Sundowns, like it would take some time for him to be integrated into the team. Because I still believe if Pizzo was there, I know most people are saying he damaged Maluleka's career, but I believe Maluleka would be playing now. Because now, if you check, Pizzo takes time for people. Because now, it's the way Sundowns plays, it needs time and adaptability. So I think it's very soon to integrate such players. I think Domingo, it's fine. He's been there for some time, but Mayema, I doubt. To be honest, I doubt.
Yeah, I just think on that. I think now with the introduction of Sefanko, it has changed everything, because now Sundowns are having a point of reference when they have their striker. Before, they were playing with a flat 3, which there were more creativity when it comes to the final third. But now having a natural striker in that position. So what we should not look out for is finding Sefanko defending more deeper, because that was the role that was adopted by Shaulile. And Shaulile did absolutely well, knew how to play between the lines and into the half spaces. So that's Sundowns is blessed, have more than enough. It's just a matter of giving players a chance, which is highly impossible, because once the rotations start going, it's for a player to keep the jersey. You put it down, you lost. Then the next player has to come in. So in that, having to please the supporters, I know there's a lot of cracks that you might see, but let us also understand in terms of their setup this season what it is. They went for a more stationary striker more than they have to play with the floating striker, because if you look at Shaolin is a more of a player that will move into the channel and play to have space. Franco is a player that plays within the box. That's why he could snatch that goal. But with the Shaolin, maybe he was going to be going on the wider position to have an overload, have a 2v1, trying to eliminate the player. Then when the ball is crossed, then that's when you find Mushishi coming late and also wingers running into the box. Now you have a Franco that always fights and wants to be within the perimeters of the box. That's why he snatched that goal. Should have been not in that position. He had the striker's instinct to say he toe punted the ball and then it was a goal.
But now when it's like that, Calvin, I believe that now, much as you're saying, it changes the dynamics of the whole team. We shouldn't forget that the strength of Mamelodi Sundowns is the mobility and the ball retention within the midfielders going forward. Therefore, now, when it changes such dynamics, we need to identify now that, do we have any players that are going to feed off Franco as a holding striker? And now it means if we're having a holding striker, I don't see a need of playing a double pivot, because now we need two players in the attacking zone who are going to feed off Franco, whether on the left side of him or the right side of him. He needs to have a dynamic triangle whereby he has both options, both peripheral options in terms of left and right, which will create a triangle for him to opening up the passing lane so that he can feed off in terms of the third man running, because he's not a mobility striker. So we need players who are going to be good in terms of third man running, whether he's holding it, flicking it off, or playing it wide, waiting for the cross. So those are the things that I think now it's going to change the dynamic of how Sundowns play. Their ball retention is going to be less in terms of saying we get the ball, we try to go to the channels like they were doing over the weekend. What they did was different. I mean, with Sundowns, you know that they always go through the middle. They have the power and the technical ability to go through the middle. But this time around, it was a matter of overloading both wingers, where the full backs are going high up, and then the wingers, they're still staying wide, in terms of saying we're going to create an overload and try and find Franco in the box, you understand? So those are the two dynamics that we need to understand now, is to say, are they going to go with the same mobility in terms of overloading the midfield, or they're going to force to play wide again and try to find their target man. So those are the things that they need to look at, and the sooner they do it, the better, because at the end of the day, we still have that issue within the spine of the team, whereby the central defenders and the central midfielders, both the pivots, the body positioning, which is totally wrong. They're always caught napping. And this time around against Golden Arrows, it happened early in the game, which was 6 minutes, whereby the distances were not okay, the body positioning was not okay, and we didn't know who was coming or going in terms of the closing down of the ball. So those are the dynamics that they need to look at in terms of saying, we're going forward, we want to challenge for everything, but at the same time, we're giving away so many chances. Sundowns was a team that would never give so many chances in a game. But lately, they're giving so many chances in the game.
Yeah. Arcelo, what do you make of that? No, Kelvin. We've gone long on this, mates. I'm sorry, mates.
Yeah.
Yes, Arcelo.
Brighton's point is very clear, especially stating that you need to change the way you play with Franco in front rather than the Sundowns. I think, I fully agree with him there.
Let's see how it pans out. Silo, thank you so much for joining us, brother.
It was 1 second.
Calvin, let me get your thoughts. Let me pick your brain, Calvin. So